Dear friends and fellow seekers, thank you so much for joining me here today. Have you ever experienced this? You wake up in the morning and immediately feel a heaviness in your heart, spending the entire day feeling anxious and restless. At work, you're constantly watching your boss's reactions. At home, you're stressed by family relationships. And your health isn't what it used to be, leaving you with growing concerns. Even when you go to bed at night, you can't sleep because you're worried about what tomorrow might bring. Sound familiar? We all live with various forms of suffering, large and small. Sometimes it's physical pain, sometimes emotional wounds, sometimes relationship difficulties that make each day a struggle to get through. This is our reality. But dear friends, today I want to share a message of hope with you. Through the Four Noble Truths that Buddha discovered 2,500 years ago, we can understand the root cause of all the suffering we experience and find a definitive way to escape from that suffering. During our time together today, I hope you'll gain a clear and simple understanding of the Four Noble Truths, Buddha's most essential teaching, and discover the wisdom that can bring true peace and joy to your life. The first noble truth, the truth of suffering. First, let me speak about the first noble truth, the truth of suffering. We all experience various forms of suffering throughout our lives. Physical pain when our bodies ache, mental anguish when we must part from loved ones, frustration when we can't get what we want, anxiety. As we age, countless forms of suffering permeate our lives. In the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, Buddha taught, birth is suffering, aging is suffering, illness is suffering, death is suffering. Separation from what is dear is suffering, association with what is disliked is suffering, not getting what one wants is suffering, and the five aggregates of clinging are suffering. This is the first noble truth. Birth is suffering, aging is suffering, illness is suffering, death is suffering, separation from loved ones is suffering, encountering what we dislike is suffering, seeking but not obtaining is suffering, and this body and mind composed of five elements is itself suffering. This teaching might sound terribly pessimistic at first. But friends, this isn't despair, it's the beginning of hope. Because recognizing the existence of suffering is the first step toward escaping from it. Modern psychology also tells us that the first step in problem solving is accurately recognizing the problem. All the negative emotions we currently experience, stress, anxiety, depression, anger, jealousy, fall under what Buddha called suffering. For example, many people today worry about economic difficulties. Prices keep rising while income stays the same, retirement savings are inadequate, and the burden of children's education costs keeps growing. These real-world problems are modern manifestations of what Buddha called the suffering of not getting what one seeks. Since COVID-19, many people have developed anxiety about their health. Even minor physical symptoms make us worry about serious illness, and as we age and feel our strength declining, our fear of death grows. This is the reality of the suffering of illness and death. There's also suffering in family relationships. Generational conflicts with children, major and minor disputes with spouses, difficult relationships with in-laws or extended family all cause us pain. Though we love our family members, sometimes they hurt us and stress us out. This is the reality of separation from what we love and association with what we dislike. But friends, acknowledging these sufferings doesn't mean we should live pessimistically. Rather, clearly seeing the reality of suffering is the beginning of wisdom to overcome it. Every morning when you wake up and look in the mirror, remind yourself, today I may encounter various sufferings and difficulties. But these are all natural aspects of life, not special suffering that only I experience. This is a universal experience shared by all beings. When we accept and acknowledge suffering this way, we gain the mental space to deal with it calmly rather than being swept away by it. The second noble truth, the truth of the cause of suffering. Second, let me speak about the second noble truth, the truth of the cause of suffering. Many people, when experiencing suffering, spend time asking, "Why does this have to happen to me?" or blaming external circumstances and other people. But Buddha clearly taught that the true cause of suffering lies not outside but within us. In the Samyutta Nikaya, Buddha taught, "Where there is craving, there is suffering. Where there is no craving, there is no suffering. This craving is the cause of suffering. This is the second noble truth." What is this craving? It refers to the three poisons: greed, hatred, and delusion. Our intense wanting of something, anger when we don't get it, and ignorance of the true nature of things. These are the roots of all suffering. Let me explain more specifically. Greed doesn't just mean material desires. The desire to be recognized, to be loved, to succeed, to be healthy, even the desire for peace, when these become attachments, they become causes of suffering. For example, wanting a promotion at work is natural. But if you become obsessed with promotion, competing with colleagues, despairing when you don't get promoted, and then craving even higher positions after promotion, that desire becomes attachment and a source of endless suffering. Hatred is the same. We get angry when things don't go our way. We get irritated by traffic jams, angry when family members don't act as we expect, upset by political and social issues. But this anger and rage, rather than improving situations, makes us suffer more and damages our relationships with others. Delusion means not seeing the true nature of things. We forget the truth of impermanence, that everything changes, and mistakenly think we'll be young and healthy forever. Or expect good times to continue indefinitely. We also think of ourselves and others as separate beings, falling into selfishness and pursuing only our own happiness. Ultimately feeling loneliness and emptiness. This is all the result of delusion. In the Satipatthana Sutta, Buddha taught, "When the mind is colored by greed, know it as it is, colored by greed. When the mind is colored by hatred, know it as it is, colored by hatred. When the mind is caught in delusion, know it as it is, caught in delusion." This is right practice. How can we apply this to modern life? First, observe your mental state throughout the day. When you can't get a seat on the subway, notice what emotions arise. When you hear bad news about a favorite celebrity or politician, observe how emotionally you react. When shopping, examine whether you're buying because you really need something or just out of desire to possess. The same applies to social media use. Feeling comparison when seeing others' seemingly happy posts, getting excited or disappointed by the number of likes, getting emotionally drained. Arguing with someone in comments. All these moments are real-life manifestations of the second noble truth. Through this observation, we discover something amazing. Most suffering comes not from external circumstances but from our reactions to those circumstances, our attachments and desires. Before bed each night, take time to reflect on when you felt greed today, when you got angry, what you were ignorant about. This kind of self-reflection is a practical way to experientially understand the second noble truth. The third noble truth, the truth of the cessation of suffering. Third, let me speak about the third noble truth, the truth of the cessation of suffering. So far I've talked about the existence of suffering and its cause. Did this sound too dark and hopeless? But friends, now I'll share the message of hope. Buddha clearly taught that suffering is not permanent but can definitely be eliminated. In the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, Buddha declared, "The complete cessation, abandonment, release, liberation, and non-attachment of this craving. This is the cessation of suffering, the third noble truth." What does this mean? If we can completely uproot our greed, hatred, and delusion, all the suffering they cause will naturally disappear. This is nirvana, the highest happiness and peace. But many people might wonder, Can we really eliminate all desires and anger completely? Is such a thing humanly possible? Of course, eliminating all mental afflictions overnight is impossible. But Buddha's teaching is that if we can reduce attachment even a little, suffering will decrease by that much. There's a famous story about Zen master Joshu. When a student asked, "How can I escape from mental afflictions?" Master Joshu replied, "Mental afflictions do not bind you." This means the problem isn't mental afflictions themselves but our attitude toward them. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're stuck in traffic. Previously, you might have gotten irritated and stressed, thinking, "Why does this have to happen today?" But now you can think like this. I'm feeling frustration right now. But this emotion will pass like clouds in the sky. Let me accept this time peacefully. This is a small beginning of experiencing the cessation of suffering. Here's another example. Say someone criticizes you. Previously, you might have lost sleep over it and even planned revenge. But now you can think like this. That person criticizes others because they have their own suffering. I won't be swayed by their words but will maintain my inner peace. This change in mindset is practicing the third noble truth. Modern cognitive behavioral therapy takes a similar approach. Instead of trying to eliminate emotions, it teaches us to change our perspective on those emotions. This is a modern application of the third noble truth that Buddha taught 2,500 years ago. Let me share some specific practices. First, set aside at least 10 minutes daily for meditation. You don't need complex techniques. Simply sit comfortably and focus on breathing in and out. Don't try to forcibly stop thoughts that arise, just watch them pass like clouds. Second, practice letting go of small things in daily life. Giving up your seat on public transport, understanding someone's small mistake generously, not complaining when your preferred food isn't available. But being grateful for what's given. Practice letting go of small attachments one by one. Third, keep a gratitude journal. Before bed each night, write down 3 things you're grateful for that day. As your mind shifts from focusing on lack to contentment and satisfaction, greed naturally decreases. Friends, the third noble truth isn't just theory. It's a reality we can actually experience. Starting small and gradually letting go of attachments, we can become more free and peaceful. The fourth noble truth, the truth of the path to the cessation of suffering. Fourth, let me speak about the fourth noble truth, the truth of the path to the cessation of suffering. So far I've talked about what suffering is, what causes it, and the hope that suffering can end. But many of you probably have this question. So specifically, how can we escape from suffering? Buddha's answer to this question is the fourth noble truth, the Eightfold Path. In the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, Buddha taught, "This is the path to the cessation of suffering, the Noble Eightfold Path: right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration." The Eightfold Path isn't just moral rules. It's a concrete and systematic practice we can implement in daily life. Right view means correct understanding. Understanding the Four Noble Truths, accepting the truth that everything is impermanent, and living with faith in the law of cause and effect. Practically speaking, it means acknowledging that the difficulties I'm experiencing now will eventually change. And the good conditions I'm enjoying now aren't permanent either. Right intention means correct thinking. Abandoning thoughts of greed, hatred, and harm, and cultivating thoughts of non-greed, loving-kindness, and non-harm. For example, when someone has better conditions than you, instead of being jealous, try to genuinely rejoice in their happiness. Right speech means speaking correctly. Not lying, not speaking divisively, not using harsh words, and not engaging in idle chatter. This is especially important in our social media age. Even online, avoid slandering others or spreading fake news, and try to communicate warmly and truthfully. Right action means acting correctly. Not killing, not stealing, and not engaging in sexual misconduct. In modern terms, this means respecting other life, living honestly, and maintaining family and social morality. Right livelihood means earning a living correctly. Not having jobs that harm others and living through legitimate means. Even in our highly competitive times, it means trying to maintain conscience and work honestly. Right effort means correct endeavor. Continuously working to increase good deeds and stop bad ones. Not just practicing for a day or two and then stopping, but steadily reflecting on and improving oneself. Right mindfulness means correct awareness. Maintaining awakened consciousness about body, feelings, mind, and phenomena. Even in daily life, being aware of what you're doing, what emotions you're feeling, and what thoughts you're thinking. Right concentration means correct meditation. Focusing the mind in one place through meditation practice. Taking time daily, even briefly, to be quiet and look within. The Dalai Lama once said, "The Eightfold Path is one complete system. You can't practice just one part, all elements must help each other and develop together." So how can we realistically practice the Eightfold Path? When you wake up and start your day, make this commitment. Today I will speak only truthfully. I will not act in ways that harm others. I will have a compassionate heart toward everyone I meet. You can practice the Eightfold Path at work too. When competing with colleagues, do so fairly. When communicating with supervisors or subordinates, try to use gentle, constructive words instead of harsh ones. When stressed, take a moment to breathe and check in with your mind. The same applies at home. When conflicts arise with family, don't react emotionally. Take a moment to calm your mind, then try to see from the other person's perspective. When educating children, try to teach with patience and love rather than anger. Let me suggest one specific practice method. Focus intensively on one aspect of the Eightfold Path each week. This week, focus on right speech. Consciously monitor all your words throughout the day. Next week, focus on right mindfulness. Practice noticing your mental state in each moment. After 8 weeks, repeat from the beginning, practicing more deeply each cycle. It's also important to start with small things. When practicing right speech, don't try to be perfect from the start. Begin by complimenting someone once a day or holding back one complaint you'd usually make. When practicing right action, don't aim for grand good deeds. Start with small kindnesses like picking up litter on the street, giving up your seat on public transport, or letting others go first in elevators. When practicing right effort, consistency is key. Even 5 minutes a day is fine. Meditate, read one page of Buddhist text, or recite prayers for cultivating compassion. Maintain even small practices daily. A Korean Zen master once said, "The Eightfold Path isn't special practice done only in mountains, daily life itself is the practice ground." Eating with right mindfulness, working with right mindfulness, sleeping with right mindfulness. This is true Eightfold Path practice. As this teaching shows, the Eightfold Path isn't separate from our daily life. From morning to night, all our actions, words, and thoughts can become opportunities to practice the Eightfold Path. Taking public transport with consideration for other passengers, handling work tasks honestly and diligently, having constructive conversations with colleagues at lunch without gossiping about others. Coming home and greeting family with a gentle face, all of this is Eightfold Path practice. Especially in our age of smartphones and internet, online Eightfold Path practice has become even more important. When posting on social media, practice right speech by not posting hurtful content or false information. When shopping online, practice right livelihood by not consuming beyond necessity. When reading online news, practice right view by not being swayed emotionally but judging coolly. One more thing I want to tell you, friends, practicing the Eightfold Path doesn't make us more rigid or stern people. It's quite the opposite. The more we practice the Eightfold Path, the more free, peaceful, and compassionate we become. Because the Eightfold Path isn't rules that constrain us but a path of liberation that frees us from suffering. When we don't lie, we don't need to worry about being caught in lies. When we don't harm others, we don't suffer from guilt. When we reduce greed, we suffer less from dissatisfaction. Many practitioners report experiencing these changes after consistently practicing the Eightfold Path. Getting angry less often, learning to appreciate small things, having more comfortable relationships with others, and most importantly, experiencing inner peace more frequently. Of course, these changes don't happen overnight. But if you practice consistently, even gradually, you will definitely experience transformation. Each night before bed, reflect on which aspects of the Eightfold Path you practiced today and which areas need improvement. Rather than criticizing yourself for mistakes, end each day with the resolve to improve a little tomorrow. The fourth noble truth, the Eightfold Path, is the most practical and systematic map to liberation that Buddha gave us. With each step we take along this path, we move further from suffering and closer to happiness and peace. Conclusion. Dear friends, today we've explored Buddha's fundamental teaching, the Four Noble Truths. Let me summarize once more. First, through the first noble truth, we acknowledged and accepted that suffering exists in life. We realized this is not despair but the starting point for solutions. Second, through the second noble truth, we understood that the true cause of suffering lies not outside but within us, in our greed, hatred, and delusion. Knowing the root cause precisely, we can now find solutions. Third, through the third noble truth, we gained hope that suffering is not permanent and can definitely be eliminated. We gained confidence that we can actually experience peace by letting go of attachments, starting with small ones. Fourth, through the fourth noble truth, the Eightfold Path, we learned concrete, practical methods for escaping suffering. Now we have a clear path. These four noble truths aren't just philosophical theories. They're proven methods that countless people have actually practiced for 2,500 years to escape suffering and find happiness. The important thing is not just understanding but practicing. Starting today, please try to practice even one small thing. When you wake up, remember the first noble truth and calmly accept the difficulties you might face today. When you get angry, remember the second noble truth and examine your mind's reactions. When stressed, think of the third noble truth and remind yourself this too shall pass. Each day, consciously practice at least one aspect of the Eightfold Path. It might feel awkward and difficult at first. But with consistent practice, it will naturally become habit, and then you'll experience a life that's more peaceful and free than before. Remember Buddha's final words in the Mahaparinibbana Sutta. All conditioned things are impermanent. Strive diligently. As these words teach us, our suffering too is impermanent and will surely change. Don't give up, continue practicing steadily. If this video helped you today, please give it a thumbs up and share your practice experiences or questions in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications, and please share this video with others who are suffering. It will be a great merit. Thank you deeply to all our friends who joined us today. I earnestly pray that all of you will escape suffering through the wisdom of the Four Noble Truths and enjoy true happiness and peace. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings be happy. May all beings live in peace without distress. May all beings be equally free. I dedicate the merit of today's teaching to all beings in the universe. And especially pray that all those suffering somewhere at this very moment will find comfort and hope through Buddha's wisdom. Thank you all, dear friends. May you be well and peaceful. Until we meet again.